Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I'm reviewing the HOKA Speedgoat 5, and this is definitely one of the more popular trail shoes on the market. And like always, I'll go over the basic specs on the shoe, my experience running in it, and my final thoughts. So we'll get right into it with the stack height. The Speedgoat 5 has a stack height of 33 millimeters in the rear, 29 in the forefoot for a heel to toe drop of 4 millimeters. My men's size 8.5 weighs in at 9.2 ounces or 262 grams. And if you compare that weight to the previous version, the Speedgoat 4s, that's way lighter. In my case, that's over an ounce lighter or more than 10%. And it's definitely noticeable out on the trails, but we'll get to that a little bit later. The upper on the shoe is also a nice upgrade. It's an engineered mesh. It's much softer than the previous version. I experienced zero issues with this upper. It's comfy, it breathes well. The laces are solid, which is important in a trail shoe. They've added this little heel flare in the back. Doesn't really do much other than just making it easier for you to put your shoes on, kind of like a pull tab. You have a little bit of protection in the front in this toe bumper, just in case you get clumsy out there like me and bang your foot against some rocks. The tongue is pretty thin and short. It is gusseted. I usually wear higher socks when I run in this shoe. So far I haven't experienced any rocks or debris falling inside of the shoe, so no issues with the tongue. And for those of you wondering, yes, the insoles are removable. Now, as far as fit goes, the HOKA Speedgoat 5s fit true to size. I found them to be pretty accommodating. The toe box might be a bit roomier than the previous version. And if you did find that this shoe wasn't wide enough, it is available in wide widths. So for men's shoes, this is going to be available in 2E, and for women, this is going to be available in D widths. Now we move along to the midsole, and from what I've read about this midsole, it's a little bit lighter and more responsive than the Speedgoat 4 midsole. And for myself, this is very noticeable out on the trails, but again, we'll get to that a little bit later. And this shoe definitely has the HOKA cushion. It's got a big, thick midsole, and it's probably one of the more cushioned trail shoes out on the market. The midsole on the shoe is so thick that it doesn't come with a rock plate, and that's not going to be a worry or a concern. You can kind of think of this shoe like a monster truck. You just run over things, sharp things, and just keep on going. Now we move along to the outsole, and like the previous version, HOKA's using the Vibram Mega Grip. So right away, you know it's going to be a very durable outsole, and I can attest to this in my previous versions. And I gotta say, the outsole on the shoe is awesome. So it's covered front to back with these lugs. Some of them facing different directions, which are going to help you climb. Others are going to help you with braking forces when you're going down a hill. And the outsole performs awesome. It's grippy, it's durable, it feels good going up, it feels good going down, it feels good on different terrains as far as trails go, and it's good in both dry and wet conditions. Okay, so before I get into my experience running in the Speedgoat 5s, I just want to say I wasn't personally a huge fan of running in the Speedgoat 4s. I just found them a little bit big, a little bit clunky, and at the time when I was shooting the review for the Speedgoat 4s, I was doing a lot of door-to-trail runs, so a lot of my trail runs, had a lot of pavement mixed into them, and the Speedgoat 4s just didn't feel the greatest on pavement. This shoe is definitely meant for off-pavement running. A pretty aggressive or hardcore trail running shoe, and the more challenging the terrain and conditions, the better that this shoe is going to perform for you. And I believe I retired my Speedgoat 4s at only about 100k or 60 miles. After I retired them from running though, I started using them as a work shoe. So I have a job where I have to walk hundreds of miles every month, and I had 2 pairs of the Speedgoat 4s. The first pair that I retired at 100k, and then I bought a second Gore-Tex waterproof pair, and I have totally worn those into the ground. Like I said, they weren't my favorite for running, but for walking around, they got the job done, and I have thousands of miles on both of those pairs. And now when it comes to the Speedgoat 5, I won't be using this for work because I like it too much for running now. So now when I go out for a trail run, I typically do a lot less pavement and more trails. And just last weekend, I really put this shoe through its paces. I went out with a friend and we did a 16-mile run with a little over 3,000 feet of vert, and I had zero issues with this shoe. It's comfy, it's cushioned. It's probably one of the best shoes that I own when it comes to descending trails. I can descend fast in this shoe, land very sure-footed. Like I already mentioned, you can kind of compare this shoe to like a monster truck. You can just run over things in this shoe. Now I will say I'm not sure if this shoe would be my first choice for a race. especially if you're doing a race that has fast, hard-packed trails, less technical trails. There's many other shoes. If that's the case, I would choose over the Speedgoat 5s. But when it comes to me and trails, I'm not a trail racer. I don't race trails. I just train in them periodically. And usually the trails I run aren't super fast. Usually they are pretty technical. We're kind of getting into the wet season here on Vancouver Island. The conditions will be changing. It'll make the trails a lot more challenging. And I'll probably be going for the Speedgoat 5 more often than any other trail shoe that I own. Now, I haven't talked about price. The Speedgoat 5s retail for $155 US or 185 Canadian, and I think that's a fair price for such a good trail shoe. And I will say this is the only shoe that I know about, and I follow the shoe world pretty closely. This is the only shoe that I know about that has actually gotten a price drop, at least here in Canada. So the Speedgoat 4s used to retail for 190 Canadian, I believe, and they have received a $5 price drop. So with inflation and companies increasing the prices of everything, it's nice to see that HOKA actually lowered their price on one of their more popular shoes. It's nice as well, HOKA offers this shoe in widths. HOKA's just making the shoe more accessible to a wider range of runners. I think a lot of hardcore trail runners who want that HOKA cushioning could be hard pressed to find a better shoe than the HOKA Speedgoat 5. And that's it. I'm actually pretty surprised with how this review turned out. I wasn't that excited about picking up a pair and reviewing them, just because I wasn't a huge fan of the Speedgoat 4s when it came to running. And if you like my review, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe for more everything running. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.